Greetings everyone, welcome to Chess Advanced, and this game was played in Chess Olympiad 2024. With the white pieces we have the current reigning world champion, that is Gukesh Dommaraju, and with the black pieces we have a Hungary grandmaster. He's Adam Kozak, and this game is going to be very interesting because I've been covering the entire series of the Chess Olympiad. I've covered the Women's Chess Olympiad, all of Divya's games, because these were the top scorers, and actually they were the ones who played on the first board, and they actually scored well. But if you don't want to hear the result, if you don't know it yet, you can just you can just skip this part. But other than that, they both were on board one and scored 9.5 out of 11 and 9 out of 10. So definitely I'll be covering all the games from Gukesh and Divya side. Divya side has been covered. Now this is time for Gukesh side, and it's going to be very interesting. And without further ado, let's start with this game. Gukesh starts with d4. We have knight to f6, and then we have c4, e6, and knight to f3. Bishop to b4 check, knight bd2, but just d5. Immediately striking in the center, queen to a4 check. This is the main line of Grunfeld variation. You always know some of these things. Either you can play knight, you have to play knight to c6 because you know that bishop needs some protection. Knight to c6, e3, and now just going for castles, a3, but just bishop caps on d2, bishop captures, and just going for this knight to e4. We have rook to d1, knight to e7, and just bishop to d4. Now the queen is somewhere along the line, gonna jump in and put some pressure on that pawn. b6, but now just queen to c2, bishop to b7, but just castles, h6, and now just bishop back because I think here Gukesh didn't want to part with the bishop pair, and he thinks that there may be more in the variation that that's further said, because here just a5 was played. We have b3, but now just knight to g6, bishop to b2. Now we have f5. That is a very strong piece and should be eliminated as soon as possible. a4 was played by Gukesh, and just rook to f7. We have knight to e1, rook to c8, and most likely you don't want to play on both sides of the board. I think if you're just playing on the king side, you should just push on the king side. But when you're just here and you're trying to play on both sides of the board, and you're not that experienced, most of the times it leads to issues, because that's exactly what I'm saying. Because you're not you're playing against the world champion. I mean, this is not a joke. You have to take it seriously. I think queen to g5 would have been much more appropriate, because after bishop to c1 you play queen back to e7, bishop to e2, d captures, and now b captures, but just knight to f6, just opening up this bishop. And now you can understand that maybe whenever the knight moves, or wherever the knight moves like that, or moves like that, are very much possible in the position. Knight to d3, c5, and once the bishop moves trying to just go for that, you just play bishop to c6, queen to b3, attacking the b6 pawn. But now you just go for this queen to e8, rook to a1, rook to b7, bishop to b2, and after rook to d8, rook f to e1, rook to d8. Now maybe you'll be interested in doubling up on the e file, just trying to just bust open the center. But anything can happen. But most likely, if you're actually committed to this and playing on the king side, I think he should have gone for it. But instead he played this rook to c8, and this rook to c8 is not a good move. I don't know what you're preparing. Maybe you're just preparing c5 in this position, but there was no need to prepare c5 in this position. Your knight is already covering all most of it, and it was not like you're just losing some pawns. So preparing it is a bit too slow move for black. And Gukesh just shows his strength. He goes for f3, knight back to f6, but now the bishop comes back, queen to e8, but just knight to d3. And Gukesh gets a very nice idea, because if you're not going to attack on the king side, then I'll be pushing on the queen side. Knight to d7, rook f to e1, knight back to e7. I mean, both players are just waiting for the best moves. Bishop back to f1, and even this is this is just saying to, if you're not going to do anything, well, I'm not going to either. We have knight to c6, bishop to a3, but now it's going for this knight to f6, rook to c1, and rook to d7. I mean, all jokes aside, this is a good move. That bishop is going to be very much strong. Somewhere along the line, if black launches an attack, very unlikely, but if he does, then that bishop will be very good for the defense. Queen to f7, but now just going for the c5, immediately striking in the center. And what do? Here rook d to d8 was played, but now just bishop to b5, now targeting those pieces. And this attack on the queen side was very much coming. He already prepared for it when he played that bishop to a3 and doubled up on the c file. And now you have to deal with it, because you didn't start the attack on the king side. Knight to d7, queen to d2, but here just queen to f6, rook to c2, g5, and knight to d3. Now that knight might be jumping squares, or maybe you just eliminate it first, bishop comes and then knight jumps. But then again, you just go into a lot of trades. Maybe just you can prepare it with f4, but anything can happen. Just knight to b8, and we have rook e to c1, queen to g7, queen to e1, king to h8, and just knight to e5. Now just finally going for that central thrust, knight captures, d captures, c6, just attacking that bishop, but just bishop to d3. And now what do you do as black in this position? Black decided to actually capture this pawn and give this bishop some breathing room. B captures, rook captures, and knight to d7 was played, but just rook caps on a5, and you've just lost a pawn. Your pieces are very much constricted. There is no way you're winning, but are you drawing this game at least? That's the question that Black needs to ask himself, because hey, just knight caps on e5 was played, but the bishop always goes back. Rook to 8, rook to c2, and now just going for this knight to g6, bishop to b2. This bishop is very very strong on this diagonal. The only move is just this, or you can just suffer with that, but that's besides the point. e5, rook caps on a, rook bishop captures, and now just going for a5. Now you're just going to push that pawn, and there is not much ways Black can do to try and capture it. King to h7, but just a6, rook to b8, b4, but now just going for this queen to a7, rook to c5, and now just finally trying for a move with queen to e7, just putting some pressure and saying that you don't there is no actual way to push those pawns, but there actually is. Queen to c3 was played, and rook to d8, queen to c2, e4, now finally striking in the center, but this bishop is basically a pawn. I mean, it's not even a pawn, it's just not doing anything with all these pieces. It's just there at the end of the board, feeling absolutely sad here. F captures on e3, F caps on e4, but just p5. And now what do you do? Because white is definitely just thrashing in the position. Queen to c7, but just b caps on c6, rook to f8, but now comes this bishop to b5, knight to e7. We have rook captures on d5, a beautiful move. I mean, you have to understand the tactic behind it, because if you capture here, then you capture here. That comes with the check. So it nicely connects with the knight as well. And unfortunately, all of these squares are covered. This is covered because of checks. So only move is this. And once you capture, that's going to come with the check. So that's what would be. And here we have this rook to f7. I mean, not going for that, because if you go for that, then next move after I capture that and you move again, then I'm just going to checkmate you. Queen captures on e4 was paired, and we have king to g8, but just queen to d4, and now there is no way to actually defend this. And Adam Kozak agrees, because he's getting mate in 8 moves, and there is no way to actually defend against it. The best is just going for rook to f1 to try and prolong the game, but after bishop captures, you have nothing. Knight captures, queen comes for the check, king to f8, but just this bishop comes trying to go for this, but bishop caps on c6, bishop to a3 check, king to g7, and just finally going for this very beautiful queen to f5, cutting the king off absolutely. And now you know that this is going to be coming as well. Queen is just slicing all the way. If that check comes, you're completely ruined. There is nowhere to actually defend against any of the dark squares. You cannot get the queen any of here, because bishop is still slicing through. So you just play this queen to b8, hoping for your imminent death here. After this check, you have to just sacrifice the queen as well. But now just comes this queen to f7, king moves, and queen to g8 will be checkmate. That was the idea. But here, after queen to d4, Adam Kozak resigned the game. He realized that it was completely over, and Gukesh got his second consecutive victory in this Olympiad, and he's playing spectacularly well. So let's see what he does in the next games. So yeah, thank you all for watching. I'll be coming back with games like these, so stay tuned to the channel, subscribe to the channel, and I'll be seeing you guys very very soon. Thank you all.